In the blazing heart of the African wilderness, where the sun hangs like a molten crown above the treetops and shadows stretch long across the dry earth, a scene unfolds that will etch itself forever into the soul of anyone who bears witness. The wind is still, the forest holds its breath. And then a scream, not of a human, not of a predator, but the raw, piercing cry of a young gorilla in unimaginable pain. His tiny arms flail, hopelessly ensnared in the cold, crushing coils of a massive anaconda. The reptile's body, thick as a man's thigh and soaked in mottled patterns of camouflage, tightens with each heartbeat, a living death trap. The young gorilla, no more than 2 years old, writhes helplessly on a cracked, sun-faded asphalt road, a man-made scar slicing through the Eden of his world. Dust rises like ghostly smoke as he struggles. And from the trees it comes, a roar so thunderous it silences the birds. A mother's scream, torn from the deepest place of fear and love. She bursts forth like a force of nature, branches shattering behind her, eyes ablaze with a fury only the divine could understand. Her child is dying, and the jungle has just awakened. She crashes through undergrowth, her fists pounding the earth with quaking power. She is not a silverback today. She is a storm. The anaconda rears, sensing the seismic shift in energy. It doesn't retreat, it stares. Its black eyes are mirrors of death. But today it faces something even more ancient than fear, a mother's will. As they stand locked in this savage ballet, we must ask, how did this sacred place of peace transform into a battlefield soaked in desperation? And what miracle would rise from the ashes of this collision between life and death? The righteous care for the needs of their animals, but the kindest acts of the wicked are cruel. In the dew-kissed hush of dawn, just moments before the chaos, life shimmered with innocence. The forest was a living lullaby, sunlight speared through the canopy in soft golden rays. Insects danced to invisible music, and a troop of gorillas stirred gently in their morning rhythm. Deep in the embrace of a low-grass acacia grove, a young gorilla played, unaware of destiny creeping close. His name was not known to man, but his soul, wild and joyful, would soon shake the world. He was a ball of boundless energy, his dark eyes glowing with the thrill of exploration. While the elder gorillas groomed and foraged with practiced patience, the little one chased a blue butterfly. That simple, that pure. A flash of sapphire wings became his whole universe. He danced. After it, giggling in high-pitched chirps, unaware that the butterfly wasn't just flying, it was leading him toward the edge of the world. His mother watched him, always just close enough. Her eyes were tender yet vigilant. She was more than a guardian. She was a quiet sentinel, embodying millions of years of instinct and grace. She trusted the forest. She trusted him. But trust, like peace, is fragile in a place where shadows can kill. The butterfly drifted past a wall of grass and into the open. And there, like a silent threat hidden in the folds of time, was the old road, abandoned by men, forgotten by maps, but not by the creatures it scarred. The young gorilla stepped onto the faded asphalt, curiosity sparkling in his eyes. The road sizzled beneath the sun. It seemed harmless. But the jungle wears masks. And in that shimmering heat, just beyond the reach of innocence, a predator lay waiting, ancient, patient, and deadly. For we walk by faith, not by sight. Then it happened, swift as a blink, silent as the grave. The grass exploded. In a blur of motion. The anaconda, a behemoth coiled in the warmth of the road, struck without warning. No hiss, no rattle, just silence turned slaughter. In an instant, the butterfly vanished, and in its place came terror. The first coil wrapped around the gorilla's small torso like a steel trap closing. Air fled his lungs. His cries changed. No longer playful squeaks, but sharp, piercing screams of panic. His limbs kicked, but there was no escape. The snake's coils, ancient instruments of slow, merciless death, continued their work, tightening inch by dreadful inch. Back in the clearing, his mother froze. Her ears caught the cry, a sound no mother should ever have to hear. Her eyes widened, her chest heaved. Then she ran. She didn't think. She didn't plan, she moved. Trees bent before her. Birds exploded into the air. Her silver back flashed through the brush like lightning incarnate, every part of her being narrowed into one focus: save him. But in the jungle, seconds matter, and the anaconda had a head start. Its grip grew tighter, bones creaked, breath faded. And the road, a place of ancient stories and forgotten trespasses, was once again soaked with the weight of nature's cruel balance. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. And then dust. 2 jeeps came barreling around the bend, grinding to a sudden halt at the sight. Tires skidded, engines roared. And through the settling cloud, 2 human figures stared in disbelief. Ranger Mark, a hardened veteran with lines carved by sun and sorrow, gripped the wheel. Beside him, David, young, impassioned, unbroken by the harsh truths of the wild, reached for the door handle, heart thundering. "Stop," Mark ordered, his voice calm but unyielding. David hesitated, eyes flicking between the dying child and the mother gorilla who had now begun her battle. She clawed at the snake, muscles bulging, hands bleeding. Her roars shook the trees. She was everywhere, tearing, pulling, screaming. But the snake, oh, the snake, it held. It squeezed. "We have to help," David whispered, fists clenched. "Look at her," Mark replied. "She doesn't see us. She sees threats. If we rush in now, we die, and he dies too." David froze. He understood. The jungle wasn't just a place of beauty. It was a place of rules. And one of those rules was this: never get between a mother and her dying child. Not if you value your life, Mark's voice softened, but if there's a window. If her eyes shift just once, we go in. They waited. Hearts pounding, souls praying. The next moment would decide everything. Greater love hath no one than this: to lay down one's life for one's friends. They were trapped in a nightmare that stripped away every illusion of control. The jungle no longer whispered, it screamed. A young gorilla, barely past infancy, was being crushed in real time by a predator that knew no mercy, an anaconda whose power lay not just in its coils but in its chilling patience. Every second was a thief, every heartbeat a countdown. The baby's flailing had slowed, replaced by convulsions of sheer panic. Breath came in gasps, faint and fleeting, as if the spirit of the forest itself was being choked out. Its eyes, once glistening with innocence, were now glassy windows to a fading soul. And beside him, the mother Ra, raging, divine in her terror, was powerless. Her mighty fists beat the earth, the serpent, the air, but nothing could break the suffocating grip around her child. It was a cruel paradox of nature, strength rendered useless in the face of stillness. And in that paralyzing silence, humanity stepped forward. Mark and David didn't move because they were brave. They moved because there was no other choice. The jungle had stopped breathing, and so had the baby. "Grab the poles," Mark said, his voice steady, but behind it, centuries of human instinct surged. From the jeep came 2 long wooden rods, not weapons by design, but instruments now forged by necessity, tools for survival, for defiance, for love. They moved in perfect synchrony, their bodies quiet but urgent, circling in a wide arc that never threatened the grieving mother. She turned to them, her howl splitting the tension like thunder. In her cry was a question: "Do you mean to help or to harm?" But nature sometimes grants miracles in moments of shared fear. And this was that moment. "Distract it," Mark commanded. David didn't hesitate. His pole jabbed at the snake's tail, commanding its attention with deliberate strikes that vibrated through the serpent's skin. Mark, seizing the moment, slipped the pole into a gap no wider than breath, wedging it between scale and rib. Then came the push, his entire weight strained against the unrelenting muscle. The anaconda recoiled violently, twisting, snapping, flinging mud and blood into the air. Its head struck like lightning, barely missing Mark's leg. The mother gorilla stumbled back, caught between rage and reason. But David struck again, a rhythm of resistance, not brutality. A cry for life. The serpent's grip loosened in a single moment, a divine, terrifying moment. It let go. The anaconda unraveled like a curse being lifted. Its body slithered back into the green, defeated by an enemy it never expected, compassion. The wild bond had shifted. Predator had retreated. Humanity had stood its ground, but the victory was not triumphant. It was silent, solemn, laced with dread. On the broken ground lay the baby, lifeless. Its mother rushed forward, nudging, pleading, praying in the only way a mother can with her soul. No sound came from the little body, no breath. Just the eerie stillness of a spirit hovering between this world and the next. This was not a fight, a fang or claw now. This was spiritual, delicate, human. Mark stepped forward slowly, the same way one might approach a shrine or a storm. He handed his pole to David and unclipped the small emergency kit from his belt, a simple pouch, now a vessel of hope. He made himself small, non-threatening, the embodiment of humility before nature. The mother gorilla growled low, her grief, a weight that bent her spine and tensed her arms. Every muscle in her body warned, one wrong move and I will end you. But Mark didn't flinch. He knelt beside them, a ranger, yes, but more than that in this moment, a witness, a servant, an equal. He avoided her gaze, keeping his eyes on the motionless form. Time didn't stop, it dissolved. The mother gorilla looked between her baby and the human. Something ancient stirred. In that moment, something passed between them, silent but sacred, and then she nudged the child forward. It wasn't surrender. It was surrender of pride, a divine offering of trust. Mark moved in, his fingers trembling. He placed 2 fingers gently on the infant's chest, a pulse so faint it barely counted. He began compression, soft, rhythmic, praying with every press. His hands, calloused from years in the wild, now became instruments of hope. He reached for the cold pack, snapped it, and placed it on the baby's head. Swelling had to be controlled. Damage had to be undone. The mother made a low, haunting sound, not a warning, not a cry, but a prayer. The jungle watched in silence. Even the leaves dared not rustle. And then a cough, a tiny, defiant cough that shattered the tension, a breath, a gasp. A miracle. The mother swept her child into her arms like the earth reclaiming its lost moon. She cradled it, weeping in rumbles and sighs, inspecting every inch, her fingers dancing over fur and limb. Mark sat frozen. So did David. The rescue was over, but the bond had only just begun. And then something unspeakable happened. She looked at them, directly, her eyes locked onto theirs, and in that look, in that moment, there was no barrier between human and beast. Only mother and protector, only one soul seeing another. No words passed, none were needed. The jungle, for that breathless second, was church. Then she turned. With her baby secure in her arms, she disappeared into the green. Mark and David stood alone on that dirt road. The roar of the forest returned, but they heard something else, something eternal. They had touched the edge of something pure, raw, holy. They had crossed the invisible thread that connects all living things, the love that refuses to give up, the courage that doesn't wear a uniform, the empathy that lives in every beating heart. This emotional true story isn't just an animal rescue. It's a dramatic wildlife rescue that reveals the soul of what it means to care, a wild bond that defied instinct, a heartwarming animal video etched in memory. It's not just about survival, it's about what happens when humanity listens to the cry of the wild and answers with love.